Hello and welcome to Family Pause Parent Education Webinars. My name is Jennifer Shryock and I am a certified dog behavior consultant and mother of 4, and today I want to talk to you about postpartum and family dogs, often referred to now as the impulsive rehoming phase. So just a little bit about myself. I actually have a degree in special education and elementary education, a duo degree. I specialized for many years working with adults and children with behavioral issues. And I have 4 children, ages 15, 14, almost 11, and 2.5. We have 4 dogs currently in our home, but over the years we have fostered over 70 dogs, mostly German Shepherds. And so we've had a lot of hands-on opportunity around kids and dogs. One of the things that I found when I was president of German Shepherd Rescue was a common pattern of families feeling like they needed to give up the dog either right before the baby was born or immediately afterwards or within the first year. So that's some of what we're going to be covering today. Here's everything we have on the agenda for today. What is the impulsive rehoming phase? The most common time that it is experienced, some of the triggers involved, the expectations that many families have, moving forward, support, and when it's not the impulsive rehoming phase. The impulsive rehoming phase is just that. It is a phase. Just like any other phase, whether it be teething or potty training or challenges with sleeping, this too is a phase. I think it's really important for people to understand that. Because we can think of a phase as something that we move through, and with support we can get through it. The thing that stands out to me about the impulsive rehoming phase is that it's actually unrelated to any particular behavior on the dog's part. Usually this is something I associate with the emotions or feelings of one or both of the adults in the home. For example, the dog would be better off somewhere else because you don't have enough time or because you don't have the energy to deal with the dog. The dog would be better off with more attention. The dog, maybe mom would be better off with one less thing to manage. If mom's having a hard time, maybe it would be easier if the dog wasn't there. Or just the concerns that you may no longer have the time or money for your dog and their needs, and they might be better off in a different circumstance. So usually I find that around 3 months, somewhere between 3 and 9 months, the impulsive rehoming phase can be something that families experience. What leads to the impulsive rehoming phase? Well, or the impulsive to rehome? All these things: hormones, expectations, pressure from others, demands on mom, complications from birth, no sleep, you're very tired, just overall feeling overwhelmed. This is an amazing time in your life as you adjust to your new role as a parent, and for many people this road goes rather smoothly. I know myself, having gone through it 4 times. Each time was very different for me. My life circumstances were very different. Here are some of the differences that you might be experiencing, and these are all really important when it comes to your dog, because if you're stressed and you're feeling overwhelmed, then that's going to contribute to your dog's behavior, but also contribute to how you feel, and we can only handle so much, right? So some of the things that I find, ironically, that go along with having a baby, it's almost inevitable that people are moving. It's one of those funny things, but here are some of the other things that might come into play. Is maybe there's a job change, whether it's job loss or change or promotion. We understand the stresses of a job loss. Obviously, that is really concerning, really stressful, and many of us have experienced that lately, and that certainly can lead to many dogs needing new homes or being sent to the shelter. However, it's also equally stressful and can be extremely stressful if there's been a promotion. That means new responsibilities, new pressure, maybe more time away from the family. This can all mean that more stresses and more pressure and demands are being put on the stay-at-home parent. So job change and promotion, a good thing, but it can be double-sided there. Multiple kids and dogs together, this is huge. If there's more than one child at home, often people have, a 2-year-old or 3-year-old, then there's a huge change in dynamics. It can feel overwhelming. I know that firsthand. It can be very overwhelming when you're trying to manage the needs of everything. We've got a lot of living, breathing creatures in our house, and it's very difficult sometimes and easy to feel overwhelmed when the demands are just piling up one on top of the other. So it can feel overwhelming. There could be health issues in the family causing stress. If you've got a parent or a kid who has a medical concern or issue, that can lead to stress. Again, the more stress that a parent is feeling, the more likely they're going to feel the pressure and try to alleviate some of that pressure, which could mean considering rehoming the dog to take away one less pressure. The natural challenges of an aging dog. This is really complicated because dogs that might be experiencing some incontinence or some trouble moving around, immobility, and some joint pain. It may not have been a problem before you had your baby to assist your dog, or maybe you didn't even realize how much you were assisting or cleaning up after your dog, but now that you have a baby, it's impossible to do. So this is one of those things that might be coming into play, and you might have to consider what's the best option for you and your dog. So there's lots of changes there. Also, dogs that have accepted babies before, as they age, they may not really appreciate the same things they did at one point. We all change and grow, and just like, we as parents might tolerate some things, but grandparents may say, you know what, I've had enough of your kid. Okay, you guys go home. So it's kind of the same thing. And then there's the challenge of children mastering new skills and mobility. Boy, is that a difficult, challenging time. It is also one of the most exciting times. But when your baby is going through the challenges of beginning to crawl and walk and discover things, they're also going through the stage of putting everything in their mouth, and they want doggy, and there's all these different dynamics that go on. And so that too can be a very stressful time, making people feel overwhelmed. So let's just talk a little bit about before a baby arrives, some of the expectations, because I know personally when I was pregnant, even with each of my babies, I had different, I had a vision of what it was going to be like, and I imagined how it was going to be and how the kids would adjust. And this time when we had 3 older kids and then a new baby, I envisioned what that was going to be like. And not everything went as planned. And so it's really easy to envision that you're going to have the perfect baby who sleeps through the night, and, all the other babies and other things you've read about, that's not going to happen to you. But when you're in your situation, if your expectations aren't quite met, or if they are met, it's still a transition. So, adjusting your expectations, we can't prepare for the unknown. That's the bottom line. There's a lot of unknown about childbirth, and there's a lot of unknown about staying home for the first time with a newborn. It's just unknown territory until you go through it. So sometimes our expectations may be a little bit, you may need a little adjustment, and that can be draining on mom and dad as well, and leave them feeling a little bit mixed. It's so important that parents take care of themselves. This leads to helping them be able to handle the change in their expectations before and what the reality is. So as I say, some people worry they're going to have a baby that screams and is colicky, and they're anticipating that, and then they get this sweet little calm, quiet baby who absolutely never does that. But then there's the flip side of, I went into my 4th pregnancy feeling very confident that I had control. I was a 4th-time mother, and this should be a piece of cake, a walk in the park, it's going to be fine. Well, God has a way of throwing you a curveball sometimes, and my daughter, who's 2.5 now, has really been her whole birth and her whole infancy and babyhood has been a very humbling time for me. So it's important that parents journal and they talk and they do things that are going to take care of themselves, because the more you can decrease the stress you're experiencing and feeling, the more likely the dog is not going to become the big stressor in your life. Again, it's easy to use the dog as a scapegoat, or say, if we just get rid of one thing, one animal, or the cat, will be okay. So I encourage people to take the time to journal, to talk to others, to network, and to exercise. Include your dog in exercising. Some people find it very handy to create a schedule. When I talk about schedule, I don't mean a schedule of, at 9 o'clock we're going to do this, at 10 o'clock. I mean a general, vague schedule of activities, in an order of which you can do it so you can check it off so you do feel productive. We are going, we have a handout that actually is really helpful that we'll post up on our website, but it's a handout that gives you 3 tips that you can do during this phase when you're feeling maybe overwhelmed. It's really helpful to schedule in just 1 or 2 3-minute activities with your dogs. Sometimes it can just feel overwhelming, but if you have it maybe written out or a general thing written on your, just to follow and, on your refrigerator, it can be really, really helpful. It's important to be patient with yourself. Listen, you're adjusting to the new role of parenthood. It's like having a whole new career. And for those of you who might have been working outside of the home before and, advanced in your career, this can be a major life change. It is very hard to go from multitasking to all of a sudden being home and doing the basics. I, in fact, remember with my daughter, that was very hard for me because I had gone back. My kids were all in school. I was used to working every day. And used to being extremely productive and multitasking. And all of a sudden, I was really just impressed if I unloaded the dishwasher, So these are the things that really, truly parents go through. And it's important to know that, 1, you're not alone, and 2, this is part of the process. It will pass, okay? Remember that all relationships take work and time. And it's important that you are focusing on your care, you're making sure your needs are being met to the best of your ability, and that this relationship with you and the baby, but you, the dog, your husband, the baby, everybody, this is all going to take a little time. So be patient with yourself. Adjust, gradually to this. The problem that we have is that, it's very difficult. I say be patient with yourself. But here are the things that you need to consider too. Changes happen very quickly with you physically, obviously during pregnancy. It's amazing how fast the baby grows in the womb. Unbelievable. And then that's my son up in the top right holding my little girl. And, it's a lot for the dog to take in too. So we're thrown into this. All of a sudden you're going from in your tummy and dreaming and imagining this baby, and then you have the reality of the baby and the daily care and everything of the baby that may or may not go as you quite imagined. It may be better, it may be harder, but it's an amazing time nonetheless, but you may have very different emotions about it. So again, the change then from holding a newborn to them being able to bear their weight, move around, it happens quickly. And the next thing you know, my goodness, they're off and running. And so as you're adjusting to each of these phases, you're also adapting your home environment, you're also changing the amount of management you need with your dog, and it does become a lot of juggling. When babies become mobile, it is one of those times that there is a huge amount of management necessary to keep everybody safe, and that may feel extremely overwhelming for some people. I really like to get education out there and have people attend our dog and baby connections, so that, which is really geared for families with babies 3 months to 3 years of age, because once baby becomes mobile, it's very hard, and the management level is huge and important for everybody's success. But also including the baby in some activities with the dog with parent guidance is really important. But boy, they do grow up quickly. So life is different, but life can be really good from the dog perspective. Some trainers will recommend that you ignore your dog when baby's napping, to kind of indicate that, when the baby's around, good things happen. I really disagree. I actually feel that one of the things we need moms to do is spend more time relaxing with their dog. We know that physically it's very helpful for them. It can be calming, it can be soothing. Brushing your dog, playing with your dog, those are all things that may give mom quite a bit of relaxation, pleasure, And it definitely will help make sure that the dog stays in the home. That bonding time is very important. So I don't encourage people to ignore the dog when baby's napping, because the other aspect of that, it's really hard to include the dog all the time during baby activities. Yeah, sure, there are things that we can do, but the proximity and closeness, the physical closeness mom can have when she's tending to baby's needs is rather challenging. So I encourage moms to spend the time, if their baby's napping and they're napping, nap with your dog. Nap, as long as the baby's not in the bed with you, but obviously I don't want the dog and baby in bed together, but take that time. The other thing is, a lot of activities actually, once your baby reaches the age of a year and a half, 2 years, a lot of things like grooming, nail trimming, brushing, you really don't want your baby modeling. They're going to, mimicking, because they're going to see you do this behavior, and you're going to be modeling this behavior, and they're going to want to do it too, and they imitate everything. So I do encourage you to spend the time with your dog when your baby's napping, if you can, if you're able, and enjoy a nice nap with your pup. I think there's nothing better than smelling the back of my dog's neck to give me a nice, calm, warm fuzzy. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Okay, so the road may be bumpy, but the journey is so worth it. But it's important that you get connected. There are so many avenues and ways for people to get connected online. Sometimes there are really helpful support groups online. You need to find what's going to work for you. And everybody's different when it comes to this. And so I encourage you to look into all your alternatives and options, whether it's an in-person baby play group, whether it's, a group online, whether it's your family, but get connected. You're not alone. You're not alone. Make time for you. One of the things I recommend during the third trimester is that you make yourself an activity kit, okay? So take a bunch of different colored note cards and say blue is for a 10-minute activity, and you write out about 5 or 6 10-minute activities you currently enjoy, and this is good to do during third trimester. Write out 5 or 10 activities you currently enjoy that might take about 10 minutes. Then on a yellow card you might write out an hour-long activity or out-of-the-house activity, and then maybe a pink card for, a 5-minute activity. Anyway, write out, you and your husband or partner do this, because it's really easy once baby's there to forget what you used to enjoy. I know it sounds some kind of silly, but I really encourage people to do this. And if you have your baby now and you're going, you already are experiencing some of these frustrations, I encourage you to take the time now to make these little pieces of paper, fold them up and put them in a jar, and every now and then you offer that to your spouse or to your partner, and likewise. That way, sometimes we need to be told, go get a shower, go do this for yourself. I've got the baby, it's okay. All those refueling activities and nurturing activities for yourself will help make you be successful with your dog. So whether it's going to take a shower, taking a walk with your dog, brushing the dog, reading, whatever you can do for 5 minutes that's going to give you a little bit of a break is really, really, really essential in helping everybody be successful. It's really one of the hardest things is to meet the energetic needs of our dogs, right? So when you're home with a newborn, sometimes it's just, enough to get dressed for the day, and then when you think about leashing up the dog to go out, that can be tricky. So depending on where you live and your house situation, you might be confined due to weather. You may have other circumstances to consider. So there's a lot of different activities that you can do with the dogs inside and outside. There certainly is the game hide and seek. And the way I do this is I have a dog sit and stay, or I have another adult or handler who can hold the dog while mom and baby go and hide. So she's holding the baby in a sling or holding the baby, and they go hide. And then we let the dog sniff something that is of babies, and we say, find Kelsey, and let the dog go find them. okay? And then we drop a handful of kibble on the ground or something like that. And then we just do it in a bunch of different places. Another thing we might do is a kibble hunt. I love doing that, actually. I never feed my dogs in a food bowl because I think that measuring the food in the morning, the amount that they need for the day, and using the food throughout the day as mental games and activities is a great way to include them. So if I need the dogs to go in another room, I might toss a couple kibbles in there and let them go in there and get it. But the way I do kibble hunt, there's a couple things. Sometimes I do it out in the yard with my dogs. And, you know, that's good if your dog doesn't eat rocks or other things that are going to be dangerous for them, like their own poop or something. You know, that's not necessarily dangerous, but gross. But one of the things that I'll do is put little piles of kibble, you know, around the kitchen. So we'll have like a cup and put a pile and have the dog in a sit stay and then release them to eat that. To clean up, I always say clean up, and then they can come and clean up. And if you do this in the kitchen, this actually is a good precursor for teaching the dog that we only clean up things when told. You know, when something's on the kitchen floor, it's only available to you when I say clean up. The other thing we can do is hide kibble in a box. That's always fun. I might have 4 different boxes and only one holds the kibble and they have to sniff and find it. The other thing I've done is certainly I tape up a box and I put kibble in it and have a bunch of holes in the box so they have to nudge it around, kind of like a big buster cube, you know, that kind of thing. So kibble hunt's fun. I like to do fetch variations. The way I do this is, again, I might use kibble. I might toss a treat, let them run and get it, come back, they sit. They might touch, they might high five, they might just get eye contact. I toss another kibble, they run and get it, they come back. For agile dogs and dogs that can run up and down stairs, I might do an up and then down kind of thing. So they run up the stairs, run down the stairs, depending on your stairs, and making sure that it's not going to be something that is stressful or straining on your dog's hips or legs or anything. We might do a, a back up and then catch. A lot of different fetch variations. Obviously, you can do it with kibble. You can do it with their toys. So those are fun. Walks are good, but walks can also be very stressful. So I encourage people to check out our stroller article on our blog. I believe the handout's also on our resources page. Sometimes walks can be more anxiety-provoking than relaxing. I know when I took Kelsey Ann out for a walk, it was myself, my Siberian Husky. I had him on a leash system around my waist, and he walks beautifully. But my daughter decided, like a mile into our walk, that she really didn't want to be in the stroller. And you have to think about it. Well, what if the baby has a funny diaper, or what if she starts screaming? I now have a dog and a stroller and a baby. And how am I going to get home? And now, what if another dog approaches us? How's my dog going to respond? So I really like people to think about their environment and if they're going to be successful. I do not encourage you to walk with your dog and baby if your dog is reactive to people and you're walking in a neighborhood where people are going to want to see your baby. If everybody in your neighborhood knew that you were expecting, there's a good chance on your first couple of walks or for a good long time that people are going to want to approach you. If your dog is reactive to people, please keep your dog home. There's no reason to set him up to fail, and you can go for a walk with your dog as part of your relaxation another time, but I would not encourage you to take dogs that are reactive to people out when you're walking your baby. Your focus will not be on the dog. It'll be on the people and your baby, as it should be. And so your dog is going to be able to misbehave, and it could lead to a situation that may not result in good, reaction. So please consider all the factors: the environment, your dog's capabilities, whether they're dog reactive, whether they're people reactive, how do they walk, is this going to be enjoyable? If not, maybe reconsider. And then, think about other creative games. I know I like to do I like to stuff frozen marrow bones. I get the marrow bones from the grocery store or the meat house, and I let the dogs eat that out, and then I fill them with all sorts of stuff. One of the recipes that I do is I have a blender for the dog food, and I fill it with either water or broth, and then I add some kibble, like a day's worth of kibble in there. and then I blend that up real good. I throw in a raw egg, the whole egg, shell and all, and then I might add whatever leftover meat we had in the house and maybe some veggies. I throw that in and I stuff that into those marrow bones, and then I wrap them in plastic wrap and I freeze them. I love being able to get up and see my freezer packed with those things. You can stuff a Kong. There's so many toys out there that are food dispensing toys, and the ones that are really long lasting and awesome where you can freeze, those are great too. So there's a lot of different things. There's so many puzzles and things out there. The other thing I recommend people do ahead of time is, and this is good to do now too actually, is when there's been a holiday, you better believe that all those Valentine stuffed squeaky toys and Christmas things go on sale at some point, whether online or whether in your local store. So stock up on extra novelty toys and stash them away for a rainy day or a day that you're feeling like you're not meeting your dog's needs, because when you give your dog something special, it makes you feel good too. So these are just some of the tips and things that I recommend. Keep in mind that this is a phase. All right, it is something that will pass, just like teething, although it feels like it lasts forever, but it does pass. And that there's light at the end of the tunnel here, or gold at the pot of the rainbow. When it is not a phase is when the dog is showing aggression and is still reactive to the baby. I usually say pass, if there's a situation going on and mom and dad are just feeling overwhelmed with the dog's behavior, and they have concerning behavior, then it's not the impulsive rehoming phase. It's not an impulse. It's a true rehoming potential dangerous phase, dangerous situation, not a phase. So if the dog's showing aggression, if a family member is fearful, and that's creating discomfort for everybody, if the dog's not adjusting or is very stressed out, past that third, fourth month, then we've got something else we need to talk about. Maybe it's not the best situation for the dog. Contact a professional and make a pros and cons list. I always tell people, if you are in a situation where you're needing to consider rehoming, or you are considering rehoming, please make a pros and cons list. Please look at it from, this is what we're experiencing now. So if we rehome now, what's the pro, what's the con? Be sure to get a second opinion. Don't just go with it, again, an impulse. Get the more opinion you can have that confirms for you what is the right decision, needed decision, the better. Sometimes I've found that when families feel like they just can't take it anymore, sometimes just talking to myself or another professional is all that they need to feel like they can get through another day and another week and maybe put a plan together. So if it's not, but again, if there's true aggression or there's real fear on a part of the family member, then it's not part of the impulsive rehoming phase. Bottom line for me is that families are educated, supported, and that they, when they're in this situation, that they feel like they have the materials to make the right choice and decision with minimal regrets. It is never easy if you are in a situation where you feel like you cannot keep your dog. I have seen both sides of the coin here. I've seen some families where truly it was in their best interest to rehome their dog, and in the dog's best interest as well, because physically the dog was not responding in a positive way and was becoming ill due to stress. I've also seen where if I've said to someone, listen, I understand if you're going to, you're feeling so overwhelmed, I get it, where my phone call with them gave them sort of permission, one, to feel that way, but also, if you really feel that this is what you need to do, I'm here to support you through that. And that was helpful. So please know that there are options, and don't ever hesitate to give us a call to talk about whatever those options might be. So I really feel that having children and dogs together is a lifelong learning lesson. There's so many opportunities to learn different things, and I really, really value that in our home, and I hope that you do too. So final thoughts: evaluate your expectations, get connected and support. Make sure your needs are being met. And talk to a professional, someone who specializes in dogs and babies. It really does make a difference if they have that expertise. And for more information, I encourage you to visit dogandbaby.com, and you're welcome to email or call. My number is 919 961 1608, and my email is info@dogsandstorks.com. I hope that you have found this helpful, and I look forward to hearing from you and hearing about the success you're having with your dog and your baby. Until next time, have a great week.